Hello and welcome to the show on this beautiful Monday. And today we are going to talk about something that is very important if you happen to grow up in Hungary. Now since, well, every one of us has not probably grown up in Hungary except me and then a couple of other Hungarians, that seems like a moot point. But the truth is that you might have children growing up in Hungary, and even though we have SpongeBob and SquarePants or stuff that I don't know about, because I'm an adult now, I watch people killing people in movies rather than, I don't know, SpongeBob doing another day at the Krusty Krab or whatever they do. When I was growing up, I watched different things. And one of those different things was Mitsimotzko. You might know it as Winnie the Pooh, which is an equally weird name because Winnie the Pooh doesn't really mean anything, at least not that I know of, and Mitsimotzko doesn't mean anything either. So whenever we are going to get to the translation, we're not going to translate that one, although I might, turn it into Winnie the Pooh instead of, because of reasons. So there we go, let's get to it. And here we go again. So let's quickly review what's going on here. This is, well, these are the opening two lines of a song called Mitsimotzko by a musician called Halász Judit, well, who was an actress and a singer. And everybody loved her. De szép is lenne, ha egy este elalvás előtt betoppanna Mitsimotzko, hogy látogatóba jött. And there is a sentence. Lots of sentence actually. So let's start with the first one. Let's go to Google Translate and just try to find. Yeah, that is a good translation. I mean, first of all, this is third person, definitely. And it is the equivalent of would be. So it would be beautiful or nice in this case. However, you might have noticed that I didn't use, didn't use the, which is but, because in English you can't start it, but it would be nice. As opposed to what? That doesn't make sense. And then of course I didn't use ish, which is also, and it would be also nice. Now, considering that if you look at this, there is nothing previously. I mean, this just says song lyrics. So that's how it starts, and it's not an in medias res kind of thing. You don't expect anything before this line. So while Hungarian often does start with these two bad boys, in English we've got no choice but to go with a proper sentence, and that is a fundamental thing. When Hungarians do try to learn English, this seems to be a sort of simplification of life itself as opposed to simplification of the grammar. And it kind of feels like that this is such a blunt and boring way of saying something, while you could have said something like this that is essentially beautiful and much more engaging. And well, yeah, it is a problem. That is a problem with English. That you can't just go and write something fancy right away. The best thing you can do is build up to it and use loads and loads of sentences that, when they are connected, come up with something or present something beautiful, as opposed to Hungarian, where one line of dialogue or one line of a song or a poem can be beautiful in itself. Think about poems like "Death shall have no dominion." Death shall have no dominion is kind of a fancy way that death will not rule us. Kind of. Or death will not rule. No rule as death, or I don't know. Whatever. And also consider this other one. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. It kind of fancy, but this is as fancy as it can get. In Hungarian, with these words we have, and when you attach things to them, sometimes you stumble upon a pure gem. And instead of going with something like, though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion, you might have noticed that there are a lot of shells in there, and Hungarian would never consider working with something like that, unless there is another poem by someone called Babics Mihály called Black Country, and that has a lot of black in it. But that is sort of like an anti-poem. That is something that you would never do in Hungarian, unless you really want to emphasize something, and I guess here black is emphasized pretty well. Let's go back to this one. So it would be nice if I know that without anything. Let's go with this. Evening, yes. Now, I'm going way out here, thinking that well, you know, I mean, it doesn't make sense if you're not, probably this would be better, if you don't say something like this, because if an evening, that just, yeah, that doesn't work. Here, it is time. Everything, when you translate sentences, you have to consider that you have to be a little bit creative when it comes to trying to figure out what the poet wanted, what the author intended here. And here, in Hungarian, it's definitely not something, the evening will be nice or something, but, you know, in an evening, falling asleep or going to bed, I would go with going to bed. And Hungarian does this thing where we put before at the end of or after whatever we have. So if you think about translating before and after the fact, then you will have to look for them right after some word. So in this case, before does not belong here. So it's not before he came, it's before going to bed. That is something that Hungarians often make mistakes with. That they just connect it to something else. Alright, anyways, let's go back. And then, well, this is obviously not translatable. But what about if I recognize that this is conditional and remove it? And what if I recognize that this one is a prefix and remove it? And still, for goodness sake, we have to go to Stucky. And yeah. How about this? Definitely. I mean, that is a common technique, by the way. That's the reason I showed it to you. Sometimes you just add an ik to the root, and then you might say, but no, it's not. This is something that is quite archaic. So that is the closest to stamping something. It's more like stumbling upon, but in this case, this is conditional. So Mitsimotsku would, and actually it's show up. So when it comes to somebody else's place, you always show up, as opposed to, well, just stomp on something. Hopefully you don't stomp on the vegetable garden. That would be rude. This one, let's go back to Google Translate, which is a visit thing, but then of course that is into something, but that does not make much sense in English. And this is probably the biggest leap of faith you have to make here, because this one means came, so he came. Obviously we are trying to connect it to Mitsimotsku here. He came to visit us. In English you have to put something there. I don't know what I would put in there. Came to visit me, or Hungarian doesn't say, but I assume that it's V, that we are expecting him or something. So that's the end. It would be nice if in an evening before going to bed, Mitsimotsku, or in this case I guess Winnie the Pooh, and then course, because it's an if, the rule is that while would is already here, it cannot be normally in the if part of the sentence. That changes to past tense. Because why not? You know, it's English. It's crazy. People usually love it when they learn English. That's one of their favorites. Right after spelling, which everyone loves. So there we go. I could have been really fast. I'm not sure. I always try to make these videos quite slowly, so you can take in whatever I'm talking about. But I'm never sure, because it always seems boring to me. So I try to edit most of it out, so it would seem a little bit faster, the pace. But the truth is that sometimes you just have to sit there and have to think about things. Now, in this episode, I've introduced loads of stuff about Hungarian, so don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to tell me what I should talk about the next time, what tiny piece I just couldn't explain, or at least didn't spend the time to explain, but I should have. Just, comment and subscribe and all that sort of stuff, because apparently we've gone back to talking about Hungarian, as I've been a lot busier than I anticipated, and it would be lovely to talk about databases and all that sort of scripting stuff. Probably not the most interesting topic in the universe. It's bad enough that I really enjoy it. So thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye bye. I don't have hands and eye and mouth coordination today. Bye bye.